Now, let's talk about this Compton Crip, PIRU, and Bloods. Is the PIRUs and the Bloods the same thing? Is they different? Do the Compton Crips beef with Bloods? I have had, excuse me, I have heard, this topic being brought up about a handful of different times on this internet. It be things like, ain't no Bloods in Compton, Compton Crips don't beef with Bloods, uh, Pyru's only beef with Compton Cribs. Like, I have heard all these things be stated on this internet, right? And to me, I feel like it's actually more of a deeper scenario than that, to where I feel like it actually has to get broken down so people can actually understand it, right? And I'm gonna break it down, right, to my best ability, to my understanding, right? And I'm gonna kind of show you the difference on like technically versus the reality of things. So we're gonna start like this. If your gang say your gang is named such and such Pyru, then technically your gang is not a blood. If your gang is named such and such blood, then technically your gang is not a Pyru. That's just the technique. Like, that's just what's technically, right? But in reality, it's really all of the same. It's none of the difference. And I'm gonna break it down, right? I'm gonna use certain type of like gang history that's broadcasted through music, and I'm gonna start speaking on certain things that's in the streets. Now, on the music side, right? Let's start with Banging on Wax. Banging on Wax, I want to say that came out in like the early 90s. I want to say 93, right? For those who don't know what Banging on Wax is, and I know a lot of people be confused. Some people actually think that Banging on Wax and Nationwide Rip Riders and Damu Riders is the same thing, but it's like really not. But Banging on Wax is it's a thing, that's on some Bloods and Damus and Crips and all that type of stuff. But you got this album called Bloods and Crips. The album is called Bloods and Crips, right? And on that album, you have a song called Pyru Love. Why would a song called Pyru Love be on the track list of an album called Crips and Bloods if Pyrus and Bloods was just totally something different, right? You have a song on there called Should Have Been a B-Dog, right? And on that song, you have a Pyru guy on that album, on that song, I should say. It's a Pyru guy on the song, Should Have Been a B-Dog. For those who do not know what a B-Dog is, a B-Dog is another term for Bloods, right? Why would a Pyru be on a Should Have Been a B-Dog song if they're just totally different? Also, that Pyru got on there and kind of disrespected, some Compton Crips, said something about some, disrespect the neighborhood, disrespected Kelly Park, disrespected Long Beach, disrespected A-Tray gangsters, right? This is the Pyru. I'm hiding like that because most people will say like, oh, a Pyru only is going to disrespect Compton Crips, right? Also, you have songs like Nationwide Rip Ride, right? Songs on these albums, right? I done moved away from Banging on Wax now. Now I'm speaking on Nationwide Rip Ride. You have songs like BK All Day, right? Where you have two Compton Crips on there on a song called BK All Day. Why would two Compton Crips be on a song called BK All Day if the Crips in Compton do not have a problem with the Bloods? Right? Also in that same album, Nationwide Rip Riders, you have songs like well, you have these remarks to where somebody is saying how breaking down Bloods from Inglewood to Compton, but they say SLOB. Why would somebody say breaking down SLOBs from Inglewood to Compton if they're totally different, right? Let's just be honest with that, right? Also, I want to highlight this. Sometimes you will hear somebody say the word like DIERU, as a disrespectful term towards PIRU. But for the majority of the time, you will hear someone refer as a disrespectful term to bloods and PIRUs by using the word SLOB. Often you will hear that being said. You know, that's just the facts in the matter. Also, let's start off in Compton again, right? I know I'm probably all over the place, whatever, but I'm definitely going to throw all my points I can make at y'all, so y'all just stay with me. Now, in Compton Crip, you got certain gangs like Nutty Block, Acacia Block, you know, Palmer Block. And the reason why I highlight these gangs is because in their initials, they have B's in their initials, right? Based upon them being Block, Crit, you know what I mean? ABC, PBC, however you flip it. So, you will often see those B's being whacked out in people's hoods. Whether it's on some gang attire or it's on graffiti in their hood. Right? Why would Compton Crips be whacking out B's on their attire or on the wall if they don't have no problem with bloods? Also, Compton Crip sets have individuals that go by the name BK in them. Why would it be guys from Compton Crip with the name BK if it's no problem with Compton Crips and Bloods? I'm not saying like it's an active some type of war, beef, or any of that going on right now. I'm just speaking on what these facts in the matter and what's really the reality of this whole PIRU, Compton Crip, Blood conversation, right? Then also, it actually is some Compton Crip sets that do actually beef with Bloods. You know, you got people like Carver Park and Mona Park that definitely beef with Bloods. I'm talking about gangs that is such and such blood, such and such blood. You know what I'm saying? These are the facts in the matter with that. And while we in Compton still, let's bring up NWA. NWA is Nella West Anthus, right? That is two PIRU sets clicked up with a blood set. How can that work if they were just totally different? You know what I mean? How would that work? Then you also have things like VSOP. That is blood sets with PIRU sets clicked up. How can that be if they just totally different? You know what I'm saying? I will assume that these guys are going to share the same problems, right? You know what I mean? You think they're going to separate it? Like, oh, you just be for PIRUs, you just be for Bloods, or you think that's going to be the conversation? I think not. Let's talk about Inglewood, like the Family Rule situation. That's Bloods clicked up with a PIRU set. How does that happen if it's just totally different? These is facts. Then let's talk about, you got people like Avalon Gangsters that have a history of, being on some PK-BK. You got gangs like Rolling Hundreds in the 60s being known on some BK-PK. So I'm trying to, really understand it. Like, I don't know where this logic come from. I think sometimes people be trying to sound more smart. And then I also feel like certain people want to sound like, more like a buster. So some of the things that they do or align themselves with won't be actually as viewed as like as wrong as it probably is. Like a person don't want to, like, listen. It goes without being said. If you say you are a Compton Crip and somebody is saying that they are anti-Crip, how do you not have a problem with them? You should have a problem with anything anti-Crip if you are saying that you are a part of the Crips. And it's the same for PIRUs. Like, PIRUs hate Compton Crips because they are Crips They don't hate them like just because they are Compton Crips. They just happen to be the direct Crips that they beef with. The Crips that's in Compton. That is just breaking it, bracking it all the way in. Outside of that, it's PIRUS that's they name is CK such and such. They name ain't CCK such and such. They name ain't 2CK such and such. They name is CK such and such. So why is a PIRU with the name CK only if they only beef with Compton Crips and not P and not and not other Crips? Why do you see PIRUs with gang attire that has Chanel's whacked out for Compton Crip and got that object, that creature that come up out of the ocean whacked out? That's just the common sense, man. Oh, let's get back to Compton. Let's stick more on the music, right? Suge Knight, a person who, definitely one of the biggest down moves ever to be on camera. Biggest one of the down moves public figures. You know what I'm saying? Suge Knight represents my PIRU, right? This PIRU said, right? But what is his dog name? Damu, right? Why is a PIRU guy dog named Damu if it's all so different? Let's fast forward to Mozzie and YG, right? YG say on that song from Compton to Oak Park, he say PIRU blood. He say PIRU love. He say PIRU love, blood love, it's the same. No, he say PIRU blood, Damu love, it's the same thing. Yeah, that's what I think YG say. He say PIRU blood, Damu love, it's the same thing. Why is YG on here saying PIRU blood, Damu love, it's the same thing? If it's just so different. Oak Parks are Bloods. Oak Park is Bloods. Compton is supposed to be only PIRUs. How can it actually be Compton to Oak Parks if it's nothing that can be aligned? You know what I mean? And speaking on YG, let's talk about something that, in my opinion, I would say YG play a big part of being responsible for, like publicly, making it way more like famous, like putting it out there, is the term Bompton, right? Before him, in my opinion, it was like DJ Quick wasn't on that, The Game wasn't on that, I don't think nobody else that was a Don move that was on that was even saying that. I don't think Suge and them was even saying that. Not saying that they are not saying that word amongst their fellow homies and stuff like that, or when they tripping or banging, however it go. But just like when they was representing, for my understanding, most Don moves, was just saying they was from Compton and stuff like that. So when YG hit the scene, even Compton Menace, like, you know what I'm saying? He just called himself Compton Menace, not Bompton Menace. So let's talk about that. Why is Compton called Bompton by the PIRUs? Because if it's supposed to be definitely a difference, then it's supposed to be called Bompton with a P, right? And then let's talk about how many times you ever really seen a PIRU function or a picture where it's just stupid burgundied out. Might get some burgundy rags here and there and all that, but you gonna see a lot of red. Even the Philly P hat, they got like a burgundy P hat, you know what I'm saying? And then they got a red one. But if the PIRUs and the Bloods is so different, then that means it should be almost to the T on the PIRUs wearing that burgundy P hat and making sure they wear a burgundy rag as opposed to a red one. Even like you see that group Meet the Whoops, all that red that be in there. Like, that's just where we at with it. I don't want to make it a longer video than what I already done. I feel like y'all definitely get where I was coming from. But like I said, what drew me to this topic was I done heard about 4 or 5 different conversations about, on this internet, people talking about the differences and Bloods and PIRUs and Crips and Compton Crips, and that's just not that, man. You got East Coast Crips that's definitely on some PK. You got PIRUs that's definitely on some anti-East Coast. You got some Avalon gangsters that done been on some PK, and vice versa. Like, it's just the truth in the matter. You got Crips in Inglewood that's definitely PK. You know what I'm saying? Like, it's just a given. So that's where I'm coming from with it. Remember, technically, if your gang is such and such PIRU, then yeah, your gang is not such and such Blood. Technically, you're not the same. But in reality, it is all the same. I'm not going to sit here and say that, everybody is going to operate on that type of time. It is certain people that can be a PIRU, and they might not be so offended about a person being on some BK type of stuff, and you could probably hang around some Bloods and they not too offended if you on some like PIRU type stuff. But in all reality, homie, a real stand up Damu ain't finna be sitting around with nobody just smutting out anything Damu related. And it's gonna be vice versa for the Crips. Ain't no stand up Crip dude gonna be sitting up in here talking about you can diss the Crips as long as you ain't dissing the Compton Crips. That'll never happen. And like I was saying earlier, it's the same thing for the Crips and the Bloods. If a Blood is anti-Crip and you say you are a Crip, how are you not offended? Just talk facts. If you are a Crip and you talking about somebody is, if you saying you a Blood and if you saying you a Crip and the person is a Blood and they're anti-Crip or they're Crip killer, how are you not offended? And that's the thing, dudes gotta get that out of their mind too. Like, the Crips is just broken down in fractions. You know what I'm saying? But it's not like a total different entity. Like, it's not a total different, like, you know what I'm saying? It's like the same building, just in different rooms, you know what I'm saying? Different whatever. Floors or however you gonna divide it. But it is in the same building. It's all still Crip. When a person whack the C out, that is offensive to all dudes who supposed to be a Crip. But the mentality for a lot of Crips is already so divided that, the unity and the brotherhood and all that stuff is not gonna always be there. But to me, I would definitely lose respect for a person acting like, they not offended by Blood offending Crips and they call themselves a Compton Crip. And I would not have the same type of respect for a PIRU running into some Crips and they like, oh, you good, bro, long as you ain't a Compton Crip. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wouldn't respect that. Like, you ain't on that. Just say you from where you from, because that's a large thing you represent. You got your set, then you got that Crip or that Blood or PIRU. But that last name, that is what we all share in common if we on the same side of the fence. But that is the large part of what you represent. Your set just represents a small portion of what you stand for. When you say you a Blood, that is the biggest shit you represent. PIRU, the biggest thing you represent. Crip, the biggest thing you represent. See, you could probably have, like, give or take, it's not the exact numbers, but just for an example, if you have an altercation with a person, let's just say you could have 10 issues based upon where you come from directly. But if you're going to be on that type of time based upon you being a Crip or a Blood, you definitely got to have at least about 80 issues. So I think a lot of people be trying to avoid those mandatory, obligations that they have to have. And I'm just saying, if you on that type of time, like, if you ain't, and then that's the thing too, bro. Like, a lot of dudes be acting like it's, oh, we don't beef with Bloods and all this and that. A lot of Crips in Compton ain't beefing with no PIRUs anyway. So if that's the case, a lot of Crip sets in Compton ain't even PK. And a lot of PIRU sets in Compton is not Compton Crip K. If we being factual about beefing or not, you know what I'm saying? It's just about what it is, man. And also, you know, I don't know if I said what I said earlier about the word DIERU. That is a disrespectful term towards PIRUs. However, often you will only hear people defer to anything like a PIRU or a blood in a disrespectful manner. They will refer to all of them as an SLOBS. These are just facts. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm just giving you facts. Me growing up all my life, I rarely heard somebody just say, like, you know, the DIERU word like that. You know, often it would just be, you know, SLOBS. You know what I'm saying? And that's the same for the PIRUs. PIRUs say FCRABS. You know what I mean? Same thing as the blood saying that. Granted, the PIRUs do got different ways to just precisely diss the Compton Crips, but that's not always often. You know what I'm saying? You might have them disrespecting that and writing them logos and disrespecting those logos as well, but you know, um, that's not as often. They just be saying F that object that come up out of the ocean. So we been on here, man, for 22 minutes. Y'all make sure y'all keep it a Benji for me in the comments and let me know y'all take on this. You know, I was just trying to be precise on what's the technical and, you know, what's the reality, and I hope people was able to learn from this. And I'm sure it's probably a lot of y'all that do agree with me, you know what I'm saying? But jump in the comments, man. You know, if you got any ties to some PIRU, blooding, Compton cripping, break it down to me how you view it in the comments. And I'm going to get with y'all in the next video.